The CompTIA Security Plus is a globally recognized certification that verifies you possess the cybersecurity skills to perform business IT security functions and pursue a career in cybersecurity. During study for the CompTIA Security Plus, you will learn general security concepts, including key cybersecurity terminology and concepts up front to provide a foundation for security controls discussed throughout the exam, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations, which focus on responding to common threats, cyber attacks, vulnerabilities, and security incidents, and appropriate mitigation techniques to monitor and secure hybrid environments. There is a huge need for cybersecurity professionals, and there may not be a better certification to put you on your way to making 6 figures or more like the Security Plus. Security architecture involving security implications of different architecture models, principles of securing enterprise infrastructure, and strategies to protect data. You will also learn security operations for applying and enhancing security and vulnerability management techniques, as well as security implications of proper hardware, software, and data management, and security program management and oversight processes to better reflect the reporting and communication skills required for Security Plus job roles relating to governance, risk management, compliance, assessment, and security awareness. There are many different self-study options and boot camps from training companies like the InfoSec Institute and the Training Camp, along with schools like San Diego State University and Morgan State University, who also offer cybersecurity training options with a focus on the CompTIA Security Plus. Exam preparation is offered by CompTIA through e-learning with CertMaster Learn, interactive labs with CertMaster Labs, exam prep with CertMaster Practice, study guides for Security Plus, and instructor-led training. The Security Plus certification is a stepping stone towards the more advanced certifications, CISSP, CISM, CRISC, or CGEIT. This will help you transition from being more hands-on as a Security Plus into engineering with CISSP or governance with CISM, CRISC, or CGEIT. Once you have some years of experience working in a role that requires Security Plus, you can use that knowledge to sit for these advanced certifications and move up in your career as an engineer, a consultant, or an architect. CompTIA has a recommended prerequisite to get the most out of the CompTIA Security Plus study guide and be able to prepare for your exam, that you should have successfully passed the CompTIA Network Plus certification exam and acquired 24 months of experience in networking support and IT administration. Call me what you want, but I prefer reading study guides, making notes, and developing a test-taking strategy on my own. There are different ways that you can get prepared for the test with boot camps and different classes that you could take, but I learn better independently. After reading the official CompTIA Security Plus study guide, you will be able to compare security roles and security controls, explain threat actors and threat intelligence, perform security assessments, identify social engineering and malware, and summarize basic cryptographic concepts. Next, you will learn how to implement public key infrastructure, implement authentication controls, implement identity and account management controls, implement secure network designs, and implement network security appliances. Looking through the exam study guide, I keep seeing the word implement, and much of this exam highlights the ability to perform specific job tasks and be ready to work right away as, say, a security analyst or a similar role. The study guide also tests your knowledge to implement secure network protocols, implement host security solutions, implement secure mobile solutions, summarize secure application concepts, and implement secure cloud solutions. In addition, explain data privacy and protection concepts, perform incident response, explain digital forensics, summarize risk management concepts, implement cybersecurity resilience, and explain physical security. If you understand all of the information delivered through the CompTIA Security Plus and have experience working professionally or in lab environment with some of the leading operating systems and applications, you are ready to make a contribution working in cybersecurity and improve your financial situation. The world is constantly changing, and now could be possibly the best time to get into the cybersecurity career field. There's just so many things happening around the country, especially here in the United States. Issues with port closures and strikes. While you're on strike, or if you've been laid off from a technology company even, you should consider looking into cybersecurity. The demand is constantly increasing, and there's not much time that's really required in order to get started. We're not talking about going to college for another 4 years or 8 years if you want to become a doctor. Working in the cybersecurity career field, getting your foot in the door as a security analyst really requires basic foundational knowledge of technologies, and combining that with Security Plus can really move you into a better position. Everyone in cybersecurity should consider the CISSP. It doesn't matter if you want to be or if you already are a Chief Information Security Officer, a Chief Information Officer, a Director of Security, an Information Security Manager, an architect, engineer, consultant, or analyst. The CISSP really sets the bar for cybersecurity professionals. The main question that comes up when I talk to my colleagues about whether or not someone has a CISSP certification is why not? Some people may say that it's not that big of a challenge to sit and pass an exam. And then that goes back to, well, if it's so easy, why haven't you done so already? If you decide to step up and sit for the exam, you will have 3 hours to complete a minimum of 100 questions with a maximum of 150 questions. The 8 domains that are essential to the exam are Domain 1, Security and Risk Management, Domain 2, Asset Security, Domain 3, Security Architecture and Engineering, Domain 4, Communication and Network Security, Domain 5, Identity and Access Management, Domain 6, Security Assessment and Testing, Domain 7, Security Operations, Domain 8, Software Development Security. In Domain 1, Security and Risk Management, you must understand, adhere to, and promote professional ethics and apply security concepts. Evaluate and apply security governance principles. Understand legal, regulatory, and compliance issues that pertain to information security in a holistic context. Understand requirements for investigation types: administrative, criminal, civil, regulatory, and industry standards. Develop, document, and implement security policy, standards, procedures, and guidelines. Identify, analyze, assess, prioritize, and implement business continuity requirements. Also, contribute to and enforce personnel security policies and procedures, understanding and applying risk management concepts and threat modeling concepts and methodologies, apply supply chain risk management concepts, and establish and maintain a security awareness, education, and training program. Domain 2 revolves around asset security. The security professional must be able to identify and classify information and assets, establish information and asset handling requirements, provision information and assets securely, manage data lifecycle, ensure appropriate asset retention, end of life and end of support, and determine data security controls and compliance requirements. Domain 3 highlights security architecture and engineering. This tests your capability to research, implement, and manage engineering processes using secure design principles, understanding the fundamental concepts of security models, select controls based upon systems security requirements, understand security capabilities of information systems, including memory protection, trusted platform module, encryption and decryption, assess and mitigate the vulnerabilities of security architectures, designs, and solution elements, select and determine cryptographic solutions, understand methods of cryptanalytic attacks, apply security principles to site and facility design, design site and facility security controls, manage the information system lifecycle. Domain 4, communication and network security, examines your ability to apply secure design principles in network architectures, secure network components, and implement secure communication channels according to design. Job search results consistently show that the CISSP is the most desired certification for businesses looking to hire a trustworthy security professional. Go on to Indeed, LinkedIn, any of the really popular job search websites, and search for CISSP and see the thousands of jobs that are available and companies are struggling to fill. In Domain 5, identity and access management, you need to have the ability to control physical and logical access to assets, design, identification, and authentication strategy for people, devices, and services, understand federated identity with a third-party service, implement and manage authorization mechanisms, manage the identity and access provisioning lifecycle, and implement authentication systems. Domain 6, security assessment and testing. design and validate assessment, test, and audit strategies, conduct security control testing, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, code review and testing, collect security process data, technical and administrative, analyze test output and generate a report, conduct or facilitate security audits. To display proficiency in Domain 7 security operations, you need to understand and comply with investigations, conduct logging and monitoring activities, perform configuration management, provisioning, baselining, and automation, apply foundational security operations concepts, apply resource protection, conduct incident management, operate and maintain detection and preventative measures, implement and support patch and vulnerability management, understand and participate in change management processes, implement recovery strategies and disaster recovery processes, test disaster recovery plans, participate in business continuity planning and exercises, implement and manage physical security, and address personnel safety and security concerns. After detailing a variety of information security knowledge areas and principles in security risk management, security engineering, architecture, operations, assessment and testing, Domain 8 finishes with software development security. Understand and integrate security in the software development lifecycle, identify and apply security controls in software development ecosystems, assess the effectiveness of software security, assess security impact of acquired software, define and apply secure coding guidelines and standards. I started my career with vendor-specific technical certifications and combined that with the CompTIA Security Plus to really focus in on my role as a security analyst. But passing the CISSP really propelled my career. This certification sets you up to be a security engineer and even higher, becoming a team lead, team manager, and just keep on climbing the ladder from that point. Now, there's many different ways to prepare for the exam. I did go to a boot camp, which was extremely beneficial and really helped me pass the test. But there's also study guides available on the ISC Square website and on Amazon. So much information to cover in these 8 domains. This book is very old. I passed the ISSP a long time ago, but I mean, all these books are thick. Just, there's 1,000 pages in here, over 1,000 pages. And if someone has read this book, really digested and processed the information and understands what's in here and combines that with their professional experience, is someone that you really know you can trust and is very knowledgeable in the career field. The Certified Information Systems Auditor, CISA, by ISACA is the gold standard for auditing, monitoring, and assessing IT and business systems, and acknowledges the importance of emerging technologies. The embodiment of the methods defined in the CISA have been absolutely priceless in planning, managing, organizing, and fulfillment of cybersecurity assessments during the course of my career. The 5 domains of the CISA involve information systems auditing process, governance and management of information technology, information systems acquisition, development, and implementation, information systems operations and business resilience, and protection of information assets. Before a business may claim that they are prepared for an audit or compliant with regulations related to their industry, what type of audit are they prepared for? What type of assessment needs to be performed? And how will this audit be completed? Domain 1, Information Systems Auditing Process, concentrates on providing industry standard audit services to assist organizations in protecting and controlling information systems. The domain affirms your credibility to offer conclusions on the state of an organization's IT security, risk, and control solutions. The first section, Planning, highlights IS audit standards, guidelines, and code of ethics, business processes, types of controls, risk-based audit planning, and types of audits and assessments. Next, execution involves audit, project management, sampling methodology, audit evidence collection techniques, data analytics, reporting and communication techniques, and quality assurance and improvement of the audit process. Before an auditor can really get into the weeds and understand things from a technical perspective and look over the shoulder of your engineers and administrators, they're going to want to know what governance is in place, what policies and procedures are available. Can I see some documentation and review what your company has set in stone so that we can audit against those policies and procedures? Domain 2, Governance and Management of Information Technology. This domain confirms to stakeholders the ability to identify critical issues and recommend enterprise-specific practices to support and safeguard the governance of information and related technologies. IT governance covers IT governance and IT strategy, IT-related frameworks, IT standards, policies, and procedures, organizational structure, enterprise architecture, enterprise risk management, maturity models, laws, regulations, and industry standards affecting the organization. Additionally, IT management displays IT resource management, IT service provider acquisition and management, IT performance monitoring and reporting, quality assurance, and quality management of IT. Now, before a single dollar is invested in any information systems project, a solid business case should be developed and reviewed to ensure that the IT resource is not only necessary, but will be implemented and integrated into the organization with purpose. In Domain 3, Information Systems Acquisition, Development, and Implementation, this offers proof of your competency in IT controls and your understanding of how IT relates to business. To start, Information Systems Acquisition and Development, we look into project governance and management, business case and feasibility analysis, system development methodologies, control identification and design. Following, information systems implementation, We see testing methodologies, configuration and release management, system migration, infrastructure deployment, and data conversion, and post-implementation review. Now, for those that are hardcore in information technology, you may not want to hear that business is where everything stops and starts, but that is the truth. There is nothing to set up and configure or secure if there isn't a business behind it. There has to be something to stand on there. So when we think of the type of audits or assessments that are going to be performed, it has to coincide with the business itself and the main targets, the main threats that are in consideration for the business. Domain 4, Information Systems Operations and Business Resilience, brings to the forefront that business is the focus. Hardware and software purchasing and implementation is dictated by business demands for capability, security, and compliance. Under Information Systems Operations, common technology components, IT asset management, job scheduling and production process automation, system interfaces, end-user computing, data governance, systems performance management, problem and incident management, change, configuration, release, and patch management, IT service level management, and database management are all discussed. Business resilience speaks to business impact analysis, system resiliency, data backup, storage, and restoration, business continuity planning, and the disaster recovery plan. Data and IT resource protection begins with the asset owners. The owners are critical in identifying where the assets are located, how the assets will be protected, the level of sensitivity, and alignment with handling business essential information, devices, and services. Domain 5, Protection of Information Assets, describes the ways cybersecurity touches every information technology role, understanding its principles, best practices, and things to watch out for. Information asset security and control includes information asset security frameworks, standards, and guidelines, privacy principles, physical access and environmental controls, identity and access management, network and endpoint security, data classification, data encryption and encryption-related techniques, public key infrastructure, web-based communication techniques, virtualized environments, mobile, wireless, and Internet of Things IoT devices. Security event management highlights security awareness training and programs, information system attack methods and techniques, security testing tools and techniques, security monitoring tools and techniques, incident response management, evidence collection, and forensics. While a job as an IT auditor or internal audit manager may require someone to become a certified public accountant or CPA, the CISA is frequently mentioned in jobs related to information security and compliance. This is where meaningful value is added to help amplify the security posture of an organization and maintain compliance with industry standards. An ISACA certified in Risk and Information Systems Control CRISC certification demonstrates an IT cybersecurity professional's expertise in risk management. ISACA offers a CRISC online review course, a questions, answers, and explanations database, and a review manual in digital or printed format. The CRISC test goes in depth to validate proficiency in handling the challenges of a cybersecurity risk management expert. The 4 domains of the exam spotlight corporate IT governance, IT risk assessment, risk response and reporting, and information technology and security. A search on Indeed.com for IT risk management opportunities shows thousands of results. The titles of Manager of IT Governance, Risk, and Compliance, or Senior Director of Risk Management, Vice President of Cybersecurity Risk Management, and of course, Chief Information Security Officer are all on the table for a well-versed CRISC holder. The bedrock of cybersecurity risk management is corporate IT governance. Organizational governance, organizational strategy, goals, and objectives, organizational structure, roles, and responsibilities, organizational culture, policies and standards, business processes, and organizational assets. Corporate IT governance also discusses risk governance, enterprise risk management, the 3 lines of defense, risk profile, risk appetite and risk tolerance, legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements, and professional ethics of risk management. As an IT risk management authority, it is paramount to grasp the business culture, risk appetite, and blanket obligations to realize victories in risk management governance. The IT risk assessment domain targets IT risk identification, risk events, threat modeling and threat landscape, vulnerability and control deficiency analysis, including root cause analysis and gap analysis, risk scenario development, and IT risk analysis and evaluation. IT risk assessment also highlights risk assessment concepts, standards, and frameworks, the risk register, risk analysis methodologies, business impact analysis, and inherent and residual risk. Intimate participation and execution of the risk assessment planning awards a savvy risk officer. Risk response and reporting gives the green light to maneuver with risk response, risk treatment and risk response options, risk and control ownership, third-party risk management, issue finding and exception management, management of emerging risk. Risk response and reporting continues with control design and implementation, control types, standards, and frameworks, control design, selection, and analysis, control implementation, control testing and effectiveness evaluation, risk monitoring and reporting, risk treatment plans, and risk action plans. With so many control factors to consider, how will your business organize the implementation of all of these opportunities to improve your cybersecurity posture? Finally, data collection, aggregation, analysis, and validation, risk and control monitoring techniques, risk and control reporting techniques involving heat map, scorecards, and dashboards, key performance indicators, key risk indicators, and key control indicators, an expansive catalog of information technology and security subjects are visible in the closing discipline. Information technology principles, enterprise architecture, IT operations management, project management, disaster recovery management, data lifecycle management, system development lifecycle, emerging technologies, information security principles, information security concepts, frameworks, and standards, information security awareness training, business continuity management, data privacy, and data protection principles. These are all topics a chief risk management professional must comprehend to deliver on expectations. The ISACA Certified Information Security Manager CISM designation solidifies your passion to employers and clients regarding the assessment of cybersecurity risk, implementing effective governance, and proactively responding to incidents. Emerging technologies such as AI and blockchain demand a skill set that incorporates handling of evolving security threats and industry requirements. Data breaches and ransomware attacks are increasing steadily, so the need for IT professionals that embrace this certification is at an all-time high. ISACA credentials are among the highest paying in the technology space, and CISM is recognized as the preferred certification for cybersecurity managers. CISM certification covers 4 domains to prepare you for success as an information security manager or executive. Domain 1, information security governance. Domain 2, information security risk management. Domain 3, information security program. Domain 4, incident management. Domain 1, information security governance. This domain will provide you with a thorough insight into the culture, regulations, and structure involved in enterprise governance, as well as enabling you to analyze, plan, and develop information security strategies. Together, this will affirm high-level credibility in information security governance to stakeholders. The first part covers enterprise governance, organizational culture, legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements, organizational structures, roles, and responsibilities. The next section, information security strategy, entails information security strategy development, information governance frameworks and standards, and strategic planning, budgets, resources, business case. A video game development company's organizational structure and viewpoint of cybersecurity is typically more relaxed than that of a Department of Defense top secret security operating center. While the business may be more laid back about the type of websites their employees may access, enterprise governance and strategic planning are still necessary to keep the company financially viable and out of legal trouble. Domain 2, Information Security Risk Management. This domain empowers you to analyze and identify potential information security risks, threats, and vulnerability, as well as giving you all the information about identifying and countering information security risks you will require to perform at a management level. Information security risk assessment involves emerging risk and threat landscape, vulnerability and control deficiency analysis, and risk assessment and analysis. Next, information security risk response includes risk treatment, risk response options, risk and control ownership, and risk monitoring and reporting. This domain separates cybersecurity analysts and engineers from cybersecurity managers and executives. Thought leaders are zoned in on learning about new risks and threats instead of only reacting to the vulnerabilities identified on their network. Evaluation of the best risk treatment and risk response options for your business and the technologies in place will be more influential when presenting and reporting to executives. Domain 3, Information Security Program. This domain covers the resources, asset classification, and framework for information security, as well as empowering you to manage information security program, including security control, testing, communication, reporting, and implementation. Information security program development details information security program resources such as people, tools, and technologies, information asset identification and classification, industry standards and frameworks for information security, information security policies, procedures, and guidelines, and information security program metrics. Following Information Security Program Management, this reviews information security control design and selection, information security control implementation and integrations, information security control testing and evaluation, information security awareness and training, management of external services such as providers, suppliers, third parties, and even fourth parties, and information security program communications and reporting. Information security program development stops and starts with the people in your organization. From the executive board to the CEO, leadership must see the value in the policies and procedures necessary to protect the data and resources of the organization. Information security awareness and training programs are effective at reducing the number of team members that fall victim to phishing and ransomware attacks. Domain 4, Incident Management. This domain provides in-depth training in risk management and preparedness, including how to prepare a business to respond to incidents and guiding recovery. The second module covers tools, evaluation, and containment methods for incident management. Incident management readiness dives into the incident response plan, business impact analysis, business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan, incident classification, categorization, and incident management training, testing, and evaluation. The last section, incident management operations, focuses on incident management tools and techniques, incident investigation and evaluation, incident containment methods, incident response communications, reporting, notification, escalation, incident eradication and recovery, and post-incident review practices. There are many intelligent IT administrators, developers, architects who can build the infrastructure, but what will the business do when disaster strikes? A business impact analysis will dissect the financial damage each particular negative event will have on the company. The business continuity plan covers each phase of ensuring the business will maintain operations in the worst case of scenarios. A disaster recovery plan revolves around the investigation, containment, and recovery from a negative cybersecurity condition. The ISACA CGEIT certification commands a six-figure minimum salary. Wow, how is that possible? Well, when I take the time to explain to you how you get to the point where you're qualified as a CGEIT, you'll understand why this certification is at the top of the industry and commands such a high salary. The career development from being a security analyst with possibly some technical certifications from AWS, Google, Microsoft, Cisco, combined with a CompTIA Security Plus, can get you in a situation where you're preparing yourself. Maybe in a couple years, you can move up to become a ISC squared, CISSP, top technical certification in cybersecurity for many people's opinions, and become a security engineer. And then after some years of experience in that role, you could level up, earn your ISACA CGEIT certification, and be prepared for more advanced roles that definitely deserve a six-figure minimum salary. We're talking about a certified professional who can be your chief information security officer, your CISO, possibly a independent security consultant, or a very focused governance, risk, and compliance manager in GRC, where definitely you would like to be a CGEIT. The CGEIT certification by ISACA recognizes IT professionals with deep knowledge of enterprise IT governance principles and practices, as well as the ability to enhance the value of the organization through governance and risk optimization measures, and to align IT with business strategies and goals. Since the program started, more than 7,000 individuals have achieved the CGEIT certification through ISACA. Before we get to the minimum six-figure salary, we need to talk about the requirements in order to become a CGEIT. The certification requires 5 or more years of experience in an advisory or oversight role supporting the governance of IT-related contribution to an enterprise. In these 4 domains, the exam will cover governance of enterprise IT, IT resources, benefits realization, and risk optimization. So what exactly is domain 1, the governance of enterprise IT? This domain deals with the organizational structure of building IT frameworks, the strategy and technology aspects of IT governance and essential knowledge about governing various types of information. Governance framework, technology governance, information governance. For example, your team would like to upgrade some older Windows operating systems machines to new Mac laptops. That sounds great. There's always value in newer, faster systems. But what about the cost? I mean, what are we going to do about collaboration? Are there any considerations for compatibility with critical software that's already in use in the business? How will data be transferred to systems? Domain 2, IT resources. This domain provides insight about where to effectively allocate your IT resources and how to ensure IT resources are streamlined for performance. This includes IT resource planning and IT resource optimization. Years ago, the National Bureau of Economic Research highlighted use it or lose it IT budget rules. They pointed out that federal agencies spend 5 times more in the last week of the fiscal year than they do in any other week of the year. That means there's a scramble for new servers, software, laptops, any IT investments that will help protect their IT budget for the next fiscal year. Domain 3, benefits realization. This domain is focused on managing performance, monitoring and reporting, and analyzing IT-enabled technology investment management, which is focused on IT performance and oversight and the management of IT-enabled investments. Now you have to ask yourself, did the IT department put together an implementation plan before the procurement was initiated? Most companies will invest 4% of their annual revenue in IT expense. So for a small business, that may mean $1 million per year, but for a Fortune 500 company, we're talking about 400 million plus. And when that type of investment is being made, you want to make sure that you have proper governance. Has a business case been prepared and reviewed? Will the hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars in IT investment perform to expectations? Will that new vulnerability scanning software be able to evaluate all of your assets in each of your company-owned environments? Will your IT team provide regular firewall metrics to show how many attacks have been blocked? And finally, domain 4, risk optimization. This domain is all about mitigating potential to IT risk and challenges and overseeing the risk of IT management capabilities around risk strategy and IT-enabled capabilities, processes, and services. With the increased use of artificial intelligence, chief information officers, chief information security officers, and even chief risk officers have to ask, how do we improve our risk management program? Documenting and planning risk management standards will help reduce the complexity of managing your IT resources. I have been an ISACA member for over a decade and maintain 4 of their core certifications. The CGEIT is a very difficult exam. It covers 4 hours and 150 multiple choice questions. Now, this isn't something that you can just take on with something that I saw early in my career with cramming for the exam on a technical certification. This actually requires real time, having a seat at the table in a oversight, a governance type of role where you understand more than the technical requirements of implementing a new technology in your environment. So, do you have what it takes to earn the ISACA CGEIT certification? I hope that by watching this video, you understand the requirements and the value that a CGEIT can bring to any organization. I will always refer to the CISSP as the standard for cybersecurity certification, but for the really technical people, the GIAC Security Essential Certification, GSEC, takes your career down a whole more advanced avenue. The GIAC Security Essentials GSEC certification verifies a cybersecurity professional has in-depth knowledge of information security and they are qualified to perform sophisticated security tasks. As an added value, the cert is DoD 8140 approved, which makes it easier to get hired quickly for a Department of Defense information technology position. The exam covers a variety of areas that are more geek and guru than compliance and governance. Defense in depth, access control and password management, cryptography concepts, algorithms, deployment and application, cloud, AWS, and Azure operations, defensible network architecture, networking protocols and network security, incident handling and response, data loss prevention, mobile device security, vulnerability scanning, and penetration testing are all included on the test. Linux fundamentals, hardening and securing, SIEM, critical controls and exploit mitigation, web communication security, virtualization and cloud security, not to mention endpoint security, and Windows access controls for automation, auditing, forensics, security infrastructure, and services are critical to becoming a GSEC expert. This exam really tests your technical capabilities and is recommended for information technology professionals looking to increase their income with a focus on security. A career as a security analyst or penetration tester are realistic options once you earn this professional designation. Security pros such as auditors, forensics, security administrators, engineers, and managers have a leg up with the GSEC. The certification objectives and outcome statements involve access control and password management, how to secure containers and understand security features provided in Mac OS, understanding cryptography and the major types of crypto systems and steganography, the mathematical concepts that contribute to cryptography and commonly used symmetric, asymmetric, and hashing crypto systems, and a high-level understanding of the use, functionality, and operation of VPNs, GPG, and PKI encryption are necessary. Data loss prevention and mobile device security are key areas on the exam and in business. Defense in depth, key areas of security, and various strategies for implementing effective security are spotlighted. Defensible network architecture zooms in on how to architect a network for monitoring and intrusion prevention. The function and use of endpoint security devices, firewalls, host intrusion detection, and prevention systems are elite skills. Enforcing Windows security policy highlights the features of group policy and working with security templates. Within the training, incident handling and response can be picked out as a whole career field of its own. Being knowledgeable of the Linux operating system structure, vulnerabilities, and permissions opens up financial opportunities in the field. Securing, hardening, and auditing Linux systems is an exam requirement and a job function for most security teams. The importance of logging, configuring logging, and log analysis with SIEM solutions are highlighted. Malicious code and exploit mitigation strategies for threats affecting modern business environments. The candidate will demonstrate understanding of firewalls, network IDS, IPS, and other network security devices. network protocols and network protocol stacks are essential foundations. There are specific tips regarding the purpose, implementation, and background of security frameworks, CIS controls, and the MITRE attack knowledge. Virtualization and cloud security risks have to be talked about since most companies use these technologies to save money. Vulnerability scanning and penetration testing reconnaissance, network mapping, resource protection, risk, threats, and vulnerability handling are career-ready capabilities. Web application security and related CGI, cookie, SSL, and active content vulnerabilities have to be reviewed. Most corporations use Microsoft operating systems and always need people to manage Windows access controls for Active Directory, file system, shared folders, registry keys, and more. Test takers must know the most efficient ways to manage updates for a network of Windows hosts. Windows automation, auditing, and forensic techniques and technologies used to evaluate Windows systems are extremely important. Identifying the differences between Windows operating systems and how to manage Active Directory and group policy are critical to Windows security infrastructure. Securing IPsec, IIS, remote desktop services, Microsoft Azure, and other Windows network services must be mentioned. Wireless network security dives into misconceptions, risk, and how to protect them. The proctored exam includes over 100 questions with a 4-hour time limit to complete. Remote proctoring through ProctorU or on-site proctoring through PersonView are the available options. GIAC offers excellent training through CyberLive, a hands-on testing lab environment to help verify the knowledge required. Lab programs, code, and virtual machines allow you to assess skills and abilities without impacting a live business network infrastructure. CyberLive asks questions that require performance of cybersecurity tasks that would be completed in specialized job roles. Real-world experience is needed to master the skills necessary to pass the certification. College courses and self-paced study always push learning towards new accomplishments. Taking practice tests as a simulation of the real exam makes you more familiar with the material that increases your earning potential. Practice exams help gauge whether the preparation methods are sufficient. Obviously, practice exam questions are never the same on the actual test, but are a wonderful tool. GIAC recommends incorporating multiple study methods for test preparation. As a professional GSEC holder, you are ready to take on a 6-figure career as a senior security operations analyst working from home. In this position, you need to monitor alert channels for CM, SOAR, EDR, IDS, and IPS detections and incidents. Following investigation, containment, triage, and mitigation of findings, continuously tuning rules helps reduce false positives. Provide incident response technical solutions, ticketing, documentation, and post-mortem way forward. Senior analysts are empowered to handle an alert from end to end with communication of outcomes. Tuning endpoint detection and response, intrusion detection and prevention systems to improve detection and reduce noise. Coordinate with security engineering to enhance security tool utilization and response to capabilities. Inspire InfoSec developers to build security automation workflows and enrichments to mitigate critical findings. Evaluate corporate information security policies, procedures, and recommend updates to executives. Promote threat intelligence program maturity and report on the current and future threat landscape. Communicate a thorough overview of enterprise risk and threats with potential remediation options. Improve correlation, situational awareness, and intel enrichment for threat detection. In addition to cybersecurity skill set, programming and scripting experience with Bash, Python, or PowerShell comes in handy. Also, any forensic or malware analysis experience bumps a resume to the top of the heap. The GIAC Security Essential Certification is a great bridge into becoming a remote penetration test engineer. This job requires someone to champion vulnerability assessments and penetration tests of the business network, infrastructure, mobile, and web applications, identifying manual testing, automated scanning, and social engineering vulnerabilities. Developing custom scripts to automate testing improves efficiency. Executive leadership expects detailed security reports containing a summary of findings, recommendations, and remediation steps. Explain complex security issues effectively to a technical and non-technical audience. Present findings and recommendations to clients in a professional and engaging manner. Bolster certified ethical hacking techniques with email, phone, or social engineering assessments. Pen testers also use Perl, Python, or Ruby shell scripting and automation. Developing, extending, or modifying exploits, shellcode, or exploit tools are going to come at a great value to any business. You will also be expected to create applications and tools in various programming languages. Do you know how to conduct reverse engineering for malware, data obfuscators, or ciphers? Wireless, web application, and network security testing solution expertise is required as a pen tester. In-depth knowledge of network protocols, data on the wire, and covert channels to coordinate with the network engineering team. Understanding Windows, Mac, Unix, and Linux operating systems to find the gaps in protection. Experience with intrusion prevention system, intrusion detection system, firewalls, and security information and event management make a well-rounded candidate. I can't believe the minimum wage for most of the United States is only $7.25 per hour. Working full-time, 40 hours a week, that's just around $1,000 per month. How are you supposed to survive on that? With the median apartment rent right around $1,500 per month, the numbers just aren't adding up. Even without a 4-year college degree, dedicating some energy to becoming a Cisco certified network professional, CCNP security, will change things dramatically. The average CCNP security holder makes somewhere between $50 and $100 per hour. Life is much better making $72.50 per hour than it is making $7.25 per hour. What would you do with a paycheck that's 10 times bigger than normal? Cisco's information technology certifications will get you ready to work in cybersecurity with unlimited potential. The certifications prove someone has knowledge required to perform the jobs in the business in the areas they need to fill. Core concepts in each certification make it simple to align with a particular focus area. A professional certification calls for 1 core exam and 1 concentration exam in security. Core exams in CCNP are also qualifying exams for the CCIE lab exams, the top level in Cisco. Earn the CCNP security and be ready to walk into a cybersecurity team and defend business networks. Senior network security engineers are critical to enabling global organizations to achieve their mission with secure network technologies. Having a skilled expert to plan network security with the optimal hardware, software, and services adds exceptional value. Every Chief Information Security Officer needs network security engineers to design network connectivity to support business core competencies. As a senior network security engineer, coordination with project managers will deliver a protected network architecture, design, and system operations. Establishing requirements, developing and evaluating secure technical solutions simplifies the performance of solution analysis. Enterprise migration and implementation planning for data centers, remote access, cross-domain solutions, protocols, and services call for a well-rounded skill set. Collaborating with security, engineering, administration, quality assurance, and operations teams brings consolidation regarding strategic goals. Being involved in strategic meetings for the acquisition, installation, configuration, and maintenance of the network systems is vital in the role. Resolving interoperability issues across platforms will help ensure hardware and software expected benefits are realized. Any previous experience with enterprise network configuration speeds up navigating through network security engineering. Many organizations support geographically separated business units around the globe that need protection for sensitive information. SD-WAN, NSXT, Cisco, Juniper, and open source solutions are some of the favorite technologies to be savvy with. Jobs like this typically look for 5+ years of experience in information technology networking. Maintaining over 5 years of experience as a professional network security engineer is preferred. Not every IT professional is a fan, but developing professional technical documentation is a necessary evil. In the case of network configuration fault, experience in remediation with other teams is a plus. Of course, a degree in CCNP security will take the cake. There tends to be a choice for a candidate with a bachelor's degree and some experience, or more years of experience and a CCNP security certification without the bachelor's degree. In some cases, a master's degree or security clearance may be required to get the job. Wait a second. How much do CCNP security architects earn each year? 6 figures? A senior network security architect that has experience working with internet service providers, carrier backbone technologies, and related systems pulls in a great salary. Designing, planning, and implementing secure Layer 2 and Layer 3 ISP carrier networks are key to the role. Architects receive requests from internal sales and marketing teams and external customers. Similar to network security engineers, security architects also manage network outages and look for opportunities to enhance network security. Engaging with new technologies and growing your skill set independently are key to a successful career. Any opportunities to mentor or train junior security architects is valuable in any setting. Contributing and participating in network deployments ensures effective resource allocation. Expanding the network and customer base creates new avenues for business growth. Network integration and improvement using emerging technologies benefits network processes and procedures. Someone has to be ready to evaluate and define product offerings and technical capabilities so the business knows the creative limits. Companies will ask the security architecture team to be on a rotating 24/7 on-call schedule for that support. On the technical aspect, business needs experts in carrier, ISP, Layer 2, and Layer 3 technologies and solutions. L2 VPN, L3 VPN, and MEF terms and technologies are also important for security architects to know. routing and switching using TCP/IP, BGP, OSPF, MPLS, VPN, and IPv6 are standard considerations. If you understand all of the network acronyms and how to maximize network technologies, bigger paychecks are on the way. Network monitoring, data collection, archiving, alarming, and response strategies stand out in the role. Consistently in the crosshairs are NOC and SOC process, procedures, and best practices. Protocols and services, HTTPS, DHCP, DNS, SNMP, and SSH come into play. Microsoft, Linux, cloud, scripting, and automation are significant in organizational elevation. Strong preference is given to candidates with the CCNP security or equivalent professional level certification, but there's not many that can beat CCNP security. Soft skills, a desire to learn business culture, and being totally engaged in core network responsibilities allow you to maximize potential. The Cisco Certified Network Professional Security Program prepares you to become a highly paid cybersecurity expert. As one of the most respected information security certifications, CCNP Security lets hiring managers know who is ready to add value from day one. Once you pass the core exam, a security concentration exam is required, and then you're on your way. The core exam, implementing and operating Cisco security core technologies, highlights security infrastructure. Network security, cloud security, data security, and network access are some of the knowledge areas to target. Implementing and operating Cisco security core technologies score is a great training course you may use to prepare for the real test. As an added bonus, the core exam also serves as a qualifying exam for the CCIE security certification. To complete the journey, a passing score is required for one of the CCNP security concentration exams. Securing networks with Cisco Firepower, implementing and configuring Cisco Identity Services Engine, securing email with Cisco Email Security Appliance, securing the web with Cisco Web Security Appliance, implementing secure solutions with virtual private networks, or automating and programming Cisco security solutions are your options for that security concentration. CCNP security validates the knowledge required to be the best in the career field and earn the top salary that comes with it. Over 5 million people around the world work in cybersecurity, but guess what? There are over 8 billion people on the planet, which means less than 1% of the population is cybersecurity or cloud security aware, making the CCSP extraordinarily valuable. Earning the ISC Squared Certified Cloud Security Professional certification is one of the best ways to prove your ability to secure critical cloud assets and advance your career. A CCSP has the advanced knowledge to design, manage, and secure data, applications, and infrastructure using industry best practices, procedures, and policies for cloud. To be eligible to take the 3-hour, 125 multiple choice question exam, candidates must have a minimum of 5 years professional work experience in information technology with 3 years in information security and 1 year in cloud security. Successful test takers will prove their expertise in the following 6 domains. Domain 1, cloud concepts, architecture, and design. Domain 2, cloud data security. Domain 3, Cloud Platform and Infrastructure Security. Domain 4, Cloud Application Security. Domain 5, Cloud Security Operations. Domain 6, Legal, Risk, and Compliance. Domain 1, Cloud Concepts, Architecture, and Design is the initial building block for cloud services and cloud computing before going down the cybersecurity rabbit hole. In Domain 1, you must understand cloud computing concepts, cloud computing definitions, cloud computing roles and responsibilities, key cloud computing characteristics, and building block technologies. Also, describe cloud reference architecture for cloud computing activities, cloud service capabilities and categories, cloud deployment models, cloud shared considerations, and impact of related technologies. In addition, you will understand security concepts relevant to cloud computing, including cryptography and key management, identity and access control, data and media sanitization, network security, virtualization security, common threats, and security hygiene. Plus, understand design principles of secure cloud computing, cloud secure data lifecycle, cloud-based business continuity and disaster recovery planning, business impact analysis, design patterns, and DevOps security. Also, evaluate cloud service providers, verification against criteria, and system/subsystem product certifications. Domain 2, Cloud Data Security, is the heart of the certification and typically the most important technology concern for business using cloud services. Domain 2 describes cloud data concepts to include cloud data lifecycle phases, data dispersion, and data flows, design and implement cloud data storage architectures with storage types and threats to storage types. You will review the design and the ability to apply data security technologies and strategies for encryption and key management, hashing, data obfuscation, tokenization, data loss prevention, keys, secrets, and certificates management, and implement data discovery with structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, and data location considerations. Following, to implement data classification, you must understand data classification policies, data mapping, and data labeling. Know how to design and implement information rights management, IRM, for objectives and appropriate tools. Plan and implement data retention, deletion, and archiving policies, data retention policies, data deletion procedures and mechanisms, data archiving, and legal hold. In conclusion, design and implement auditability, traceability, and accountability of data events for the definition of event sources and requirement of event attributes, logging, storage, and analysis of data events, chain of custody, and non-repudiation. Most business leaders are looking to streamline cloud security efforts with professionals who are proficient in the elements covered in Domain 3, Cloud Platform and Infrastructure Security. Domain 3 tests your ability to comprehend cloud infrastructure components, including the physical environment, network and communications, compute, virtualization, storage, and management. Design a secure data center using logical design, physical design, environmental design, and design resilience. Also, analyze risks associated with cloud infrastructure for risk assessment, cloud vulnerabilities, threats and attacks, and risk mitigation strategies. Design and plan security controls, physical and environmental protection, system, storage, and communication protection, identification, authentication, and authorization in cloud environments, and audit mechanisms. Plan disaster recovery and business continuity, considering business continuity and disaster recovery strategy, business requirements, creation, implementation, and testing of the plan. Domain 4, Cloud Application Security, should catch the attention of not only cloud cybersecurity engineers, but also software developers as an integral part of the code analysis and vulnerability assessment workflow. Cloud Application Security asks that you advocate training and awareness for application security involving cloud development basics, common pitfalls, and common cloud vulnerabilities. Describe the secure software development lifecycle, SDLC process, with business requirements, phases, and methodologies. Apply the secure software development lifecycle to cloud-specific risk, threat modeling, so you may avoid common vulnerabilities during development, looking into secure coding, software configuration management, and versioning, and apply cloud software assurance and validation using functional and non-functional testing, security testing methodologies, quality assurance, and abuse case testing. Use verified secure software, securing application programming interfaces, API, supply chain management, third-party software management, and validated open source software. Comprehend the specifics of cloud application architecture with supplemental security components, cryptography, sandboxing, application virtualization and orchestration, and design appropriate identity and access management IAM solutions using federated identity, identity providers, single sign-on SSO, multi-factor authentication, cloud access security broker, and secrets management. Any business that's not in the information technology field, especially small business owners, should lean on cloud service providers to handle the bulk of the responsibilities covered in Domain 5 cloud security operations. This entails building and implementing physical and logical infrastructure for cloud environment using hardware-specific security configuration requirements, installation and configuration of management tools, virtual hardware-specific security configuration requirements, and installation of guest operating system virtualization toolsets. Operate and maintain physical and logical infrastructure for cloud environment with access controls for local and remote access, secure network configuration, network security controls, operating system hardening through the application of baselines, monitoring, and remediation, and implement operational controls and standards utilizing incident, problem, release, deployment, configuration, service level, availability, and capacity management. Support digital forensics with forensic data collection methodologies, evidence management, collect, acquire, and preserve digital evidence. Manage communication with relevant parties to include vendors, customers, partners, regulators, and other stakeholders. Manage security operations using forensic data collection methodologies, evidence management to collect, acquire, and preserve digital evidence, Security Operations Center, SOC, intelligent monitoring of security controls, manage security operations with forensic data collection methodologies, evidence management, collect, acquire, and preserve digital evidence, Security Operations Center, intelligent monitoring of security controls, log capture and analysis, incident management, and vulnerability assessments. The last domain, Domain 6, legal, risk, and compliance, verifies that the security champion is prepared to enable business growth while also helping to avoid negative financial impact for the company. This domain tests your confidence to articulate legal requirements and unique risks within the cloud environment for conflicting international legislation, evaluation of legal risks specific to cloud computing, legal framework and guidelines, e-discovery, and forensics requirements. You must also understand privacy issues for the difference between contractual and regulated private data, country-specific legislation related to private data, jurisdictional differences in data privacy, standard privacy requirements, and privacy impact assessments. You need to understand audit process, methodologies, and required adaptations for cloud environment, the internal and external audit controls, impact of audit requirements, identify assurance challenges of virtualization and cloud, types of audit reports, restrictions of audit scope statements, gap analysis, audit planning, internal information security management system, internal information security control system, and policies. Understand implications of cloud to enterprise risk management, assess providers' risk management programs, difference between data owner and controller versus data custodian and processor, regulatory transparency requirements, risk treatment, different risk frameworks, metrics for risk management, and assessment of risk environment. Concluding with the knowledge to understand outsourcing and cloud contract design, business requirements, vendor management, contract management, and supply chain management. The cost savings available when business transitions from purchasing hardware and software to install and manage in their own facilities, and taking advantage of the cloud service providers who are able to have a more of a Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart type of approach where they're providing services in bulk at a reduced price for business, and also the personnel considerations for staffing, training, and having people ready to go right away to help support your business. There are a variety of cloud security, certification, and training options available, but for myself as a CISSP, the CCSP just felt like a natural fit and really helped me take my knowledge from working in an on-site security operating center to really having a full understanding of cloud security, and just how the industry is moving in that direction has been exceptional and helped me out in my career. According to Glassdoor, Azure cloud security engineers can make over $200,000 per year, demonstrating the skills needed to implement security controls. Maintaining an organization's information security posture and identifying and remediating security vulnerabilities are key parts of this job role. As the Azure security engineer, you implement, manage, and monitor security for resources in Azure, multi-cloud, and hybrid environments as part of an end-to-end infrastructure. You will implement and manage security components and configurations by using Microsoft Defender for Cloud and other cloud security tools. You ensure the infrastructure aligns with standards and best practices such as the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. Your responsibilities as an Azure Cloud Security Engineer will include managing the security posture, implementing threat protection, identifying and remediating vulnerabilities, installing and configuring regulatory compliance controls for Azure infrastructure, identity and access management, network, compute, storage, data, applications, asset management, backup and recovery, and DevOps security. As an Azure Cloud Security Engineer, you coordinate with architects, administrators, and developers, plan and implement solutions that meet security and compliance requirements, and you may also collaborate with security operations to respond to security incidents in Azure. Practice exams provide you with an overview of the style, wording, and level of difficulty for the actual questions that you will see on the exam. Through these assessments, you're able to determine how prepared you are to take the test. If you feel knowledge gaps bringing you closer to being able to pass the real test, you're getting closer to that six-figure payday. Exam demo gives you a good look and feel for the exam and gets you ready to interact with different types of questions and the same type of testing interface so you're comfortable on the actual exam day. The AZ500 exam prep videos provide tips and tricks and any help that you can possibly need to get ready to pass the test in real life. The AZ500 Managed Identity and Access Training will show you how to implement Identity and Access Management IAM in Microsoft Entra ID. This includes securing users, groups, and external identities, implementing authentication and authorization controls, and managing application access and security. This module focuses on effectively managing identities and enhancing security with Microsoft Entra ID, ensuring that users, groups, and external identities are protected against security threats and unauthorized access. You will learn what exactly is Microsoft Entra ID, how to secure Microsoft Entra users, creating a new user in Microsoft Entra ID, securing Microsoft Entra groups, recommend when to use external identities, secure external identities, and how to implement Microsoft Entra identity protection. The Azure Secure Network training will show you how to secure Azure networks, encompassing virtual networks, encryption, firewall setup, private access, and DDoS protection. The module is designed for administrators with knowledge and skills needed to plan and implement security controls for Azure virtual networks, ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of business information. How to plan and implement user-defined routes, virtual network peering, or gateway planning and implementation. How to plan and implement virtual wide area network, including secure virtual hub, secure VPN connectivity, including point to site and site to site, Azure Express Route, implementing encryption over Express Route, configuring firewall settings on past resources, and monitoring network security by using Network Watcher, including network security groups. I started off my career working in a SOC and seeing servers in a bunch of racks and getting my hands in there and getting involved in racking and stacking and running cables. And just times have changed with all of the technology and benefits of having cloud computing. Those skills are no longer as valuable as they used to be 20 years ago. So now you need to be able to master and manage the Azure cloud environment and reap those rewards for business and show them how their resources can be protected in the cloud environment when you don't have eyes on the actual physical machines on site. The AZ500 Azure Secure Compute, Storage, and Databases training details securing Azure Compute resources, storage, and databases, including advanced security measures, encryption, access control, and database protection. The module is designed to provide administrators with knowledge and skills needed to plan and implement advanced security measures for Azure Compute resources, safeguarding applications and data against evolving security threats. To plan and implement remote access to public endpoints, Azure Bastion, and just-in-time virtual machine access. Do you know what the Azure Kubernetes service is? Configure network isolation for Azure Kubernetes service. Secure and monitor Azure Kubernetes service. Configuring authentication for Azure Kubernetes service. Security for Azure container instances. How to configure security for Azure container apps. Managing access to Azure Container Registry. Configuration of disk encryption, Azure Disk Encryption, encryption as host, and confidential disk encryption. Recommending security configurations for Azure API management. Wow, that's a whole lot of encryption going on. But everyone must understand, if you cannot read or dissect the information that you are unauthorized to access, you can't do anything with that information. Encryption is a great thing, and many business owners and cybersecurity leaders need to understand that encryption needs to happen at rest. So your data that's stored in a server, especially in a cloud database, needs to be encrypted. So if someone has an unauthorized user account access to your network resources, that data is still safe in place. And then, of course, if you're doing business, you're not doing it in a silo. You're not all alone exchanging knowledge, information, and resources just on site for your company. So cloud really makes that stand out, and you can see that this data must be protected in the cloud. So that whole mindset has to shift, and you gotta have Azure certified security engineers in place to take care of your resources. All of that hard work and research, development, getting that information out to your customers and to your partners also needs to be protected. So encryption in transit is essential. Most people are used to using HTTPS and secure communication. The AWS Certified Security Specialty designation proves you are ready for a great career in AWS Cloud. The certification tests your knowledge of specialized data classifications and AWS data protection mechanisms. AWS Certified Security Specialty is best for security professionals who design and implement AWS security solutions. This certification complements the skills and expertise required to perform multiple job roles across cloud architecture, database, networking, and DevSecOps. Professional recognition as a trusted advisor for business cloud information security comes with an excellent salary. An AWS Certified Security Specialty certification holder delivers security solutions to their organization. The AWS Certified Security Specialty exam guide covers data encryption methods, secure internet protocols and AWS mechanisms, AWS security services to ensure a secure production environment, effective decisions regarding cost, security and deployment complexity, and understanding of security operations and related risks. Passing the certification exam requires knowledge in 6 content domains. Domain 1, threat detection and incident response. Domain 2, security logging and monitoring. Domain 3, infrastructure security. Domain 4, identity and access management. Domain 5, data protection. And finally, Domain 6, management and security governance. Domain 1 covers threat detection and incident response. How to design and implement an incident response plan. AWS best practices for incident response, cloud incidents, roles and responsibilities in the incident response plan, AWS security finding, implementing credential invalidation and rotation strategies, isolating AWS resources, designing and implementing playbooks for responding to security incidents, deploying security services such as AWS Security Hub, Amazon GuardDuty, and Amazon Inspector, configuring integrations with native AWS services and third-party services using Amazon EventBridge, detecting security threats and anomalies using AWS services is essential in the business. AWS managed security services that detect threats, anomaly and correlation techniques to join data across services, visualizations to identify anomalies, strategies to centralize security findings, evaluating findings from security services, searching and correlating security threats across AWS services, performing queries to validate security events, and creating metric filters and dashboards to detect anomalous activity using Amazon CloudWatch. You must know how to respond to compromised resources and workloads in the AWS environment. The AWS Security Incident Response Guide is a great tool. Resource isolation mechanisms, techniques for root cause analysis, data capture mechanisms, log analysis for event correlation, automating remediation using AWS Lambda or AWS System Manager, responding to compromised resources by isolating Amazon EC2 instances, conducting root cause analysis, capturing relevant forensic data, querying logs in Amazon S3, protecting and preserving forensic artifacts, preparing services for incidents and recovering services after incidents are also critical in this section. Domain 2 highlights security logging and monitoring. Every organization using AWS Cloud Services needs experts to design and implement monitoring and alerting of security events. AWS services may monitor events and provide alarms with CloudWatch and EventBridge. Automating alerting with Amazon Simple Notification Service is pretty nice. Analyzing architectures to identify monitoring requirements and sources of data for security monitoring. Designing environment monitoring and workload based on business and security requirements. Setting up automated tools and scripts to perform regular audits. And defining the metrics and thresholds that generate alerts. Troubleshooting security monitoring and alerting involves configuration of monitoring services, relevant data to indicate security events, analyzing the service functionality, permissions, and configuration of resources after an event, remediating the configuration of custom application, and evaluating logging and monitoring services for alignment with corporate security policy. AWS Cloud Security teams design and implement logging solutions for AWS services and features that provide logging capabilities, attributes of logging capabilities, log destinations and lifecycle management, configuring logging for services and applications, identifying logging requirements and services for log ingestion, implement log storage and lifecycle management according to AWS best practices and business needs. Troubleshoot logging solution problem calls for capabilities and use cases of AWS services that provide data sources, AWS services and features that provide logging capabilities, access permissions that are necessary for logging, identifying misconfiguration and determining remediation steps for absent access permissions, and determine the cause of missing logs and execute remediation steps. Designing a log analysis solution focuses on services and tools to analyze captured logs, log analysis features on AWS, log format and components, identifying patterns in logs to indicate anomalies and known threats. Domain 3 is all about infrastructure security. The security features on edge services, common attacks, threats, and exploits, including the OWASP Top 10, layered web application architecture, defining edge security strategies for common use cases, selecting appropriate edge services based on anticipated threats and known attacks, the right protection based on anticipated vulnerabilities and risk, defining layers of defense with combined edge security services, applying restrictions at the edge, activating logs, metrics, and monitoring around edge services rounds out the training material. VPN technology, terminology, and usage, on-premise connectivity options with AWS VPN and AWS Direct Connect, implementing network segmentation based on security requirements, designing network controls to permit or prevent network traffic with firewall configuration, managing network flows to keep private data off the public internet, determining redundancy and security requirements for communication between on-premise and AWS cloud. Passing the exam also requires maintenance and provisioning of EC2 instances, IAM instance roles and IAM service roles, services that scan for vulnerabilities in compute workloads, host-based security, creating hardened EC2 AMIs, applying instance roles and service roles as appropriate to authorize compute workloads, scanning EC2 instances and container images for known vulnerabilities, applying patches across a fleet of EC2 instances or container images, activating host-based security mechanisms, analyzing Amazon inspector findings and determining appropriate mitigation techniques, passing secrets and credentials securely to compute workloads. There is a ton of money to be made for those who know how to troubleshoot cloud network security. How to read relevant log sources from Route 53, WAF, and VPC, identifying, interpreting, and prioritizing problems in network connectivity, determining solutions to produce desired network behavior, analyzing log sources to identify problems, and capturing traffic samples for problem analysis using traffic mirroring. Domain 4 places identity and access management in the crosshairs. To design, implement, and troubleshoot authentication, you need to understand methods and services for creating and managing identities, how to troubleshoot authentication issues, establishing identity through an authentication system, setting up multi-factor authentication, and determining when to use the AWS Security Token Service. You must review different IAM policies, components and impact of a policy, constructing attribute-based access control and role-based access control strategies, evaluating IAM policy types for given environments, interpret IAM policy effect on the enterprise, where to apply principle of least privilege, enforcing a proper separation of duties, analyzing access or authorization errors, and investigating unintended permissions, authorization, or privileges to keep the bad guys out. Domain 5 revolves around information protection. The design and implementation of controls that provide data confidentiality and integrity. TLS and VPN concepts are key. Secure remote access methods with SSH or RDP. Systems manager, session manager concepts. How TLS certificates work with various network resources. Designing secure connectivity between AWS and on-premise network. Ensuring mechanisms to require encryption for connections. TLS for AWS API calls. And designing mechanisms to forward traffic over secure connections. It is crucial to implement AWS cloud security controls for data at rest and in transit. Encryption technique selection, integrity checking, IAM roles and policies, designing methods to prevent unauthorized access, configuring services to activate encryption of data at rest. Encryption at rest is enhanced using AWS Cloud HSM. Choosing encryption techniques based on business requirements is going to deliver the most value. The life cycle of data at rest includes lifecycle policies, data retention standards, mastering the S3 lifecycle to retain data for a specific retention period, designing automatic lifecycle management for AWS services, setting a standard schedule and retention time for AWS backup. You will learn how to protect credentials, secrets, and cryptographic key material by utilizing Secrets Manager, Systems Manager Parameter Score, usage and management of symmetric keys and asymmetric keys, oversight and rotation of secrets for workloads. KMS key policies restrict key usage to unauthorized users. KMS key policies restrict key usage to only authorized users. And importing and removing customer provided keys are very important to know. The training concludes with Domain 6, Management and Security Governance. Centrally managing AWS accounts demands, multi-account strategies, managed services for delegated administration, policy-defined guardrails, root account best practices, cross-account roles, directing AWS organizations, implementing and enforcing a policy, security service and aggregated findings management, and the best way to protect AWS root credentials. Secure deployment best practices for cloud resources are always evolving. Tagging, deployment, and versioning of AWS services must be understood. Visibility and control over the AWS infrastructure. How to use CloudFormation to deploy cloud resources. Configuring and deploying portfolios of approved AWS servers. Organizing AWS resources into management groups. Deploying Firewall Manager for policy enforcement. And securely sharing resources in AWS. Evaluating compliance for AWS resources takes you down the rabbit hole to data classification of AWS services, how to assess, audit, and evaluate AWS resources, identifying sensitive data in AWS, creating AWS config rules to identify non-compliant resources, collecting and organizing evidence using Security Hub and AWS Audit Manager. Anyone who may identify security gaps using architectural reviews and cost analysis is essential to sustainability. AWS cost and usage for anomaly detection, strategic reduction of attack surfaces, the AWS Well Architect Framework, analytics based on resource utilization, pinpointing unused resources, and using the AWS Well Architect tool to identify security gaps will get you ready to take on a career as an AWS security specialty cloud security expert. A certified Google Cloud Security Engineer will be an expert with Google Cloud technologies and provide data protection, configuring network security, monitoring environments, and configuring automation, securing AI workloads, software supply chain, and enforcing regulatory controls. So depending on the size of your company, whether you have 10 servers or 100 servers, being able to automate certain security controls and being able to centrally manage your network security defense is an absolute must in order to get the most return on investment from your cybersecurity team. The Cloud Security Engineer exam will test your knowledge and capability to configure access, ensure data protection, support compliance requirements, secure communications, and establish boundary protection, and manage operations. And the key one there for me is secure communications and boundary protection. Some of the biggest concerns in cloud security are data loss prevention and disclosure of information to non-authorized parties. So if you get the certification and prove you can protect the company's sensitive information, your value is going to be extremely high. For this proctored exam, you will have 2 hours to complete 50 to 60 questions. And this is available right now in English or Japanese. And to sit for the exam itself is only $200. Now, I cannot put a price tag on your personal time that you invest in order to soak up all the information you need to know in order to pass the exam. But knowing that, okay, here I spent $200, passed the exam, sent my resume out, and earned a 6-figure income based on these results, that sounds like a great deal to me. I know a lot of different strategies people use out there in the world to say, I can double your money, triple your money, but talk about spending $200 in order to earn 6 figures. Sounds like a great deal to me. Something that really stands out for this certification that's a little bit different for me is the recertification process. I'm used to ISACA, ISC squared, being able to do the CPE credits and maintain the certification. But for this particular cert, you will have to repass the exam every couple of years. So that is something to keep in mind. But if you already have the certification, you're working in the field, you're learning, growing in your career, you should have no problem maintaining the cert. The exam is broken into 5 sections that all have a percentage and an impact to determine whether or not you pass the test. In the first section, section 1, configuring access, speaks to managing cloud identity, configuring Google Cloud Directory Sync, managing a super administrator account, automating the user lifecycle management process, administering user accounts and groups, and configuring workforce identity federation. This is really where everything gets started. If you're talking about identity management, that is extremely important. If you have the wrong people getting access to your business information, it's almost like, what's the point of being in business? Because you're just handing over your resources to the competition or somebody that just wants to steal your finances. You will also need to know how to manage service accounts, securing and protecting these service accounts, identifying scenarios requiring a service account, creating, disabling, and authorizing service accounts, securing, auditing, and mitigating the usage of service account keys, managing and creating short-lived credentials, configuring workload identity federation, and managing service account impersonation. Here you have to think about what scenarios you would use a service account. Are you going to have automated processes that require the service account to make things come together for you? If you're looking at a service account for the management of servers or routers, switches, anything like that, you really don't want to have a personal user account responsible for making sure all communications are flowing as needed. If someone leaves the company or their account is disabled for some reason, you don't want to have that human interaction. But at the same time, these service accounts must be protected to make sure they run as intended and your business operations are not interfered. This includes managing authentication, creating a password and session management policy, setting up security assertion markup language, SAML, and configuring and enforcing two-step verification. If you have someone come in and enter their username and password and that is successful, next you can prompt them with a capture screen that asks them to click on bicycles or trains or bridges, whatever it takes in order to show it's not just some kiddie script that's trying to break into the system or crack an account. You're actually having that individual interaction that goes beyond just populating those username and password fields. Managing and implementing authorization controls includes privileged roles and separation of duties and access management, managing IAM and access control lists, ACLs, granting permissions to different types of identities using IAM conditions, defining access control at the organization, folder, project, and resource level, configuring access context manager, applying policy intelligence, managing permission through groups, and identifying use cases and configuring privileged access manager, managing pre-built or custom organization policies for the organization, and using the resource hierarchy for access control and permissions inheritance. All of these factors build a nice stage to make sure that you have the right people accessing the right information at the right time. Section 2 speaks to securing communications and establishing boundary protection, designing and configuring perimeter security, configuring network perimeter controls, setting up application layer inspection, differentiating between private and public IP addressing, configuring web application firewalls, deploying secure web proxy, configuring cloud DNS security settings, and continually monitoring and restricting configured APIs. While the certification requires you to be able to handle account access controls, identity access management, that could be a completely separate role on a cybersecurity team to the person that's handling the requirements of this section. when you're looking into boundary protection, endpoint protection, different things of that nature, somebody who's actually configuring and managing firewalls, web application firewalls, that is a large undertaking. And if the size of the company calls for it, you'll have a cybersecurity team with someone specifically handling these job roles. Configuring boundary segmentation includes security for VPC and considering use cases for when a VPC may be useful within your business. So boundary segmentation is going to look at protecting particular assets and putting servers and resources in particular groups and segments where if one area is compromised, the impact or level of damage is not going to be as bad as it could be in another area. Or if you just had all of your information consolidated into one database that's just prime for the picking, that's something you definitely want to be intelligent about and work smart to protect and defend. Establishing private connectivity for Google Cloud Security involves designing and configuring private connectivity between VPC networks, designing and configuring private connectivity and encryption between data centers and VPC, establishing private connectivity between VPC and Google APIs, and using Cloud NAT to enable outbound traffic. So this is absolutely zoomed in on private connectivity. We're all operating on the internet. Data is flowing between different internet service providers, and what's to say the message you intended to send to company A is not intercepted by a malicious attacker and used for purposes other than what you had intended. So privacy, encryption, these things are all essential to doing business and knowing that your data is secure. Section 3 of the exam, ensuring data protection, really emphasizes protecting sensitive data and preventing data loss, configuring sensitive data protection, restricting access to Google Cloud data services, securing secrets with Secret Manager, and protecting and managing compute instance metadata. Managing encryption at rest and in use, identifying use cases for Google default encryption, determining when to use software and hardware keys, creating and managing encryption keys, applying encryption methods to various use cases, configuring object lifecycle policies for cloud storage, and enabling confidential computing. Section 3 ends with securing AI workloads and speaks to implementing security controls for AI and determining security requirements for various types of training models. Section 4, managing operations, talks about automating infrastructure and application security, automating security scanning for common vulnerabilities and exposures, CVEs, configuring binary authorization to secure GKE clusters, automating virtual machine and container image creation, and managing policy and drift detection at scale. The one that really stands out here for me is automating security scanning for CVEs. There's been many times in my career where, as part of my job, I would configure vulnerability scanning, and that does take some time. You're looking at setting up configuration for the actual scanning device server and looking at what we want to scan, what CVEs we want to apply. If it's a Microsoft environment, Cisco environment, different considerations there, and putting in the different subnet information and making sure you have access and you can scan all of your resources. It could be a time-consuming and sometimes complicated job when troubleshooting reasons why you can't scan or why the results aren't coming out as expected. Automating security scanning will just expedite identification of vulnerabilities on your network, and help you develop your strategy for how you're going to build your remediation plan and ensure these things are checked off before an attacker is able to take advantage. Section 4 goes in depth on configuring, logging, monitoring, and detection, configuring and analyzing network logs, designing an effective logging strategy, logging, monitoring, responding to, and remediating security incidents, designing secure access logs, exporting logs to external security systems, configuring and analyzing Google Cloud audit logs, configuring log exports, and configuring and monitoring Security Command Center. Anyone that has worked in cybersecurity has to know it is an excellent strategy to use some sort of dashboard, a security command center, any sort of centralized management. As we spoke to, not having all of your resources, all of your data in a single database that can be compromised, it could fail, it could be shut down. We're speaking to centralized management of resources. So while you have your access controls correctly configured, you have proper segmentation, especially if the segmentation is based on sensitivity level, you can centrally manage all of this cybersecurity in one location. It just makes your life that much easier. And finally, Section 5, supporting compliance requirements. This might be my favorite section. It's a small section on the exam. It's only 11% of the exam. And as a cloud security engineer, compliance is a part of the job role, but while many of your job requirements may be based on compliance and you're making your contribution so that the organization as a whole is compliant, it's not particularly what you do hands-on engineering. So for me, I have different certifications that are for governance and risk management, and I love compliance. It's a graduation within your career. So if you get this professional cloud security engineer certification, you're an engineer for a few years, I would definitely look into adding on to compliance certifications to elevate yourself and keep climbing that corporate ladder. The compliance section talks about adhering to regulatory and industry standards requirements for the cloud, determining technical needs relative to compute, data, network, and storage, evaluating the shared responsibility model. And not many people fully understand what they're signing up for when they get into cloud technologies. The shared responsibility model is very important for businesses to know and to find the gaps in their cybersecurity team. So the vendor, Google, they're going to have the majority of the controls in place and just make things simple for business. But there are going to be particular requirements that someone within the business that has purchased Google Cloud services is going to have to be responsible for. And this may include configuring security controls within cloud environments to support assured workloads, organizational policies, and access transparency, access approval, regionalization of data and services. And this is going to be individual to each business. There's no way for Google to know every single client's inner workings, and your organizational policies are going to be particular to your organization and something that you need to have a certified cloud security engineer on staff to handle in the best way. Also, determining the Google Cloud environment and scope for regulatory compliance, mapping compliance requirements to Google Cloud services and security controls. The direction may come down the chain of command and say, we must have these 1, 2, 3 ABC requirements met in order to be compliant. But someone that is the chief financial officer or even the chief executive officer, they're not going to have hands-on experience, knowledge, and training on applying security controls to make sure that you're compliant and business operations continue without a bump in the road. So get your nose in the books, check out this Google Cloud Security Engineer certification, and good luck in your cybersecurity career. There are a few really entertaining movies out there that glamorize hacking into different banks and companies to do whatever damage they want to do. But have you ever considered becoming a certified ethical hacker? EC Council offers the Certified Ethical Hacker CEH certification with over 20 learning modules that teach you over 500 different hacking techniques. While the on-demand certification course starts at just over $1,500 and the live online training course is right around $2,500, this is an excellent investment when you consider that most CEH related jobs in cybersecurity pay well over 6 figures. The 20 module course starts off with an introduction to ethical hacking that talks about the fundamentals and key issues for information security controls, relevant laws, and standard procedures, and even touches on compliance for PCI DSS, GDPR, HIPAA, and others. The next module talks about footprinting and reconnaissance, with learning the ability to perform footprinting on target networks using search engines, internet research services, and social networking sites. Perform WHOIS, DNS, network, and email footprinting, and also using AI. Module 3 focuses on scanning networks, which is an essential skill for many cybersecurity professionals. The ability to perform host, port, service, and OS discovery on a target network will get you started on learning on what may be potential vulnerabilities. Also, scanning the network beyond the IDS and firewall security controls using AI is going to be something that just takes you to another element of ethical hacking that many cybersecurity professionals are not aware of. Conducting enumeration on BGP and NFS exploits, and NetBIOS, SNMP, LDAP, NFS, DNS, SMTP, RPC, SMB, and FTP enumeration. That's quite a long list of enumeration tools that you'll learn with the CEH certification training course. Vulnerability analysis is a key portion of the training so that you'll learn how to identify security loopholes in organizations' networks, communication infrastructure, and in systems. Vulnerability research using vulnerability scoring systems and databases, vulnerability assessment and vulnerability analysis tools, and performing analysis using artificial intelligence will speed up the process and give you more in-depth knowledge. Module 6 gets really interesting as we start to learn about system hacking, how to perform an active online attack and crack a password, perform buffer overflow attacks, escalate privileges, hide data using steganography, clear Windows and Linux machine logs, hiding artifacts in Windows and Linux machines, and how to perform system hacking with artificial intelligence. What kind of ethical hacker would you be if you didn't understand malware threats, including viruses, worms, and Trojan? If you can harness these skills, you'll understand how to gain control over machines using a Trojan, infecting target systems with a virus. You will become an expert at packet sniffing techniques to understand and discover vulnerabilities. And of course, as an ethical hacker, ways to defend against those sniffing techniques. MAC flooding, ARP poisoning, and DHCP starvation attacks are covered. MAC address spoofing, network sniffing with a variety of sniffing tools, and how to detect ARP poisoning are great skills in this section. Social engineering attacks have been around for a long time, but with the introduction of artificial intelligence into this area, it just makes things even harder for cybersecurity experts. When you're looking at social engineering, we have to know different social engineering techniques, how to detect a phishing attack, and different ways to prevent compromise of your corporate network. The training absolutely has to include denial of service and distributed denial of service DDoS attacks. These types of hacking techniques have gone back all the way far back as Windows NT. Denial of service is something that any hacker is going to want to be able to do to be able to shut down services and communications for a company can be devastating and catastrophic. So knowing how to stop these type of attacks is something that you're going to want to have on your tool belt. The session hijacking knowledge will really show you any authentication or authorization problems within your corporate network that you need to resolve. Evading intrusion detection systems, firewalls, and honeypots. Man, that's nasty work. But from the good guy side, as a certified ethical hacker, this is excellent information that you want to retain and take to the job. Performing intrusion detection with various tools, deploying honeypots, and how to bypass firewalls and antivirus systems are real key tools to have as a hacker. And in an ethical fashion, you can show companies how to prevent these same types of attacks from damaging their systems and stealing information. For most businesses, there is a requirement for an annual security assessment, and looking into hacking web servers and hacking web applications is going to be a major piece of that penetration test or hacking event. And being able to use these techniques is going to cover web server reconnaissance using various tools, how to enumerate web server information, perform a web server attack, knowing the OWASP top 10 web application security risk, how to perform web spidering, web application vulnerability scanning, and web application attacks is going to make you extremely valuable for any business that has a web application, which most do in 2025. Speaking of the OWASP top 10, you know the good old SQL injection attack had to be included in the EC Council CEH training. SQL injection attacks against MS SQL have been around for a number of years and continue to get more and more sophisticated. And the reason for that is that once a hacker has access to a database, you're talking about thousands, maybe millions of records that include PII, maybe your credit card information, home address, email, social security number, and all of these things need to be protected, and a certified ethical hacker will know how to get the job done. Hacking wireless networks is always a fun activity. Early in my career, I went on some war drives and had a great time with that. And the CEH training looks into how to footprint a wireless network, perform wireless traffic analysis, cracking into a WPA2 network, and setting up a rogue access point. And that's a real kicker there. If someone sets up that rogue access point, has physical network access to be close enough to get that performed, it really could have people connecting to the wrong access point and sharing information where it shouldn't be available. Hacking mobile platforms includes a wealth of hacking techniques for Android, but there's also iOS hacks in there, how to jailbreak a phone, and different techniques for getting access to a mobile device. And currently, getting access to someone's mobile device is just as dangerous as getting hands on their corporate laptop. There's so much information in our phone. It's a handheld computer. You've got your social engineering things to worry about there, while also getting access to your bank account information and anything else that you have easy access to on your phone that you don't want to share with the entire world. Hacking into cloud computing services is probably going to be the primary way that hackers operate in the future. Most businesses, if they don't have a complete cloud network, have at least a hybrid entity where they have some on-site servers and services with also using cloud technology for mostly their web applications or web presence. So they have some segregation there and some security. But if a hacker is able to get access to these web resources, there's still databases, there's still defacing websites. So a certified ethical hacker on the team could prevent those major problems. The 20 module training concludes by highlighting cryptography. We're talking about encryption, PKI, and different encryption attacks that can be used to break into data that a hacker should not have access to. As you can see, there are so many different areas of focus for the CEH training, but these are all very important as a cybersecurity professional. There may be limited opportunities as a manager or an executive because you only need so many leaders, but if you can get this CEH certification, you can have an excellent path to thousands and thousands of jobs available for cybersecurity professionals right now. And these are all paying over 6 figures.